Cool. So one more time, hello to each of you guys, and I hope that you're all doing great. Today is Thursday, 11th of December. So technically, this is our last teaching session in this 2025 in term 4. Next week, there should be only some support sessions. It's not mandatory. It's all up to you. It's not mandatory to attend your support session. If you need any assistance or help or you're stuck with your assignments, we just allocated those three sessions on 16th, 17th, and 18th. Not mandatory at all, just up to you. For the classes that they merge to my class, your teacher is back and he will create. If you have a look on your VU Collaborate, there is no more link for the next week, but your teacher also will create your sessions recording, and then if you have any questions or issue you can join those support sessions with the students that they had their class with me. I will be available next week as well, the same way that you logged in today. You just need to go to your view collaborate communication Zoom classroom and then join to the session. So for the students that they had these two units with me, I hope that you enjoyed this two unit in my class. It was great to have you on my class as well. If you have any question or feedback or opinion about how I run the class, please feel free to share it with me. What I want to do today, it's pretty short session. I know that it's Thursday and probably you have too much things on your plate to do, so I will make sure to finish the class pretty shortly. Probably it may take half an hour to 1 hour just to go to a couple of things about Windows Server in Windows Server about assessment task 2. So it should be a pretty short session if you have a plan for the rest of the day. I would say that probably we finish before 6:30. I will be available still if you have questions or stuck with your virtual machines or for any other reason. If you want to have breakout rooms, just send me a message and then I will be available to help you. So that's the plan for today, the last teaching session, and next week only for support. For your assignments, I reckon majority of you guys, you have submitted your assessment for the previous unit, BSV XS 30303. For the groups that you merge with my class, your teacher, as I said, is back, and he said that he will mark your submissions. For my group, I reckon I marked all of your submissions, and there were 3 or 4 of you that you forgot to submit assessment task 1, and I already sent you an email about it. Please make sure to get it done by tomorrow. For our current unit assignments, we already went through, we had a look. Assessment task 1, just a couple of questions, pretty straightforward. Assessment task 2 also, it has only one practical activity that we go through it in our tonight class. Please have a plan to get it done, preferably by end of this weekend. As next Friday, it should be our last day that we have access to our services. So just put a plan because it's pretty crazy time. There are so many things that you need to do. Next week, if you are working, probably there should be a traffic of events and parties and end of the year events. So just set a plan for yourself to submit both assessment task 1 and 2 by this weekend. If you have a look on the unit guide, I set the due dates by today, but that's totally fine if you need to take a bit of more time. Just aim to get it done by end of this week and preferably before Monday. In worst case scenario, if you still can't submit all of your assignments, next Friday is the cutoff date. So in order to avoid getting withdrawn from the unit, please do your best to submit it because we need to report our numbers and figures because this is a funded course. This is a government funded course. And then I need to finalize everything, publish the result, and clear withdrawals and all of those things. So we need to close our system and I need to finalize everything. So in order to avoid getting withdrawn from your current unit, next Friday, 19th of December, is the final cutoff date. No further extension will be granted. Even if you want to send me a request for the extension, next Friday is the last cutoff time that you have to submit your assessment. Also, if you reckon that you may get not satisfactory, if possible, sometimes you submit something and you get not satisfactory, you need to resubmit. So please allow yourself a bit of more time. Just aim to submit your assignments by this weekend, as I mentioned. In case that you need to resubmit, then you have enough time before next Friday. That's the plan for this week and for next week. I will anticipate that probably a big portion of my class and the other class will not join to the support sessions because the unit is pretty easy and straightforward. So I would say this is our last teaching session. And like usual, I will do a quick review on what we had in yesterday class, and then what I want to do just to have a quick look in our Microsoft Azure Lab and a little bit get more familiar with some basic tools available in Windows Server environments. Let me to go back to my board and do a quick review on what we had in the previous session, and then I start talking about Task Manager, Event Viewer, uh, and group policy managements in Windows. Then I jump to Microsoft Azure and we will see all of those things in practice as well. Let me share my screen. Any question? So we have to submit the assessment for this unit by end of this week, just in case allowing sometimes. Yes, please, Porty. Yes, if you can submit your assessments by end of this weekend, let us say, it should be great. So we will have enough time next week to mark it, publishing your results. So when we publish your results in VU Collaborate system, for you, it's like the end of it, but for us, it's the beginning of another process because as I said, we need to accumulate all the data. We have visitors that we need to manage it and we need to report. And in a big scale, it takes too much time and too much workload for our admin team just to report it to the university and also to report it to the Department of Education. Feedback for the previous unit. Yes, I explained that your teacher is back and he said that he will mark your previous unit submission. So I just left it for him and he will mark it for you. I'm not sure, probably in the next few days. Cool. Any other question? Not a problem. It was great to have you in my class as well. I'm hoping to see you in CERT for cybersecurity next year. Let me share my screen. Cool. So in the previous sessions, we had a chat about intellectual properties, the importance of intellectual properties, different types of intellectual properties or IPs, if they are automatic or if they need application and registrations, if they are free or if we have to pay for those intellectual properties like logo, like trademarks, like copyright, copyleft, design, industry secrets, and all of those things. Specifically, in the previous sessions, we had a look in cases that we are able to use the copyrighted material without being in the violation of copyrights. And we name it fair deal or fair use. There have been a couple of cases, just quickly, educational purposes, for research or a study, for criticism or review, for parody or satire, or when there is a permission to use copyrighted materials, we are not in the violation of using copyrighted content. Otherwise, we need to get permissions or we might be in the violation of the act. In the other side, we have public domain. Public domains are content that are freely available for anyone to use it, like when a copyright item expires, like when the creator gives up the rights voluntarily, or when governments release some specific contents. In all of those situations, they are public domains and we can freely use it. For example, in cybersecurity or in IT, using old educational textbooks, using government databases, old patents, word list for penetration testing, malware data sets, scripts, they all are okay if you want to, for example, just search it from Google and use it in your report or in your project. That's totally fine. We also have a chat about open source and closed source. We know that closed source, we don't have access to the source code. In the other side, open source codes are freely available. Windows, macOS, iOS. There are some examples of closed source. Security is usually happens through op security. It means that we don't have access to source code, and just because of that, we don't know how to attack it or how to find event vulnerability in those systems. They require licensings and they controlled by the vendor. Open source in the other sides, they are freely available. Examples like different distributions of Linux, Nmap, Wireshark, Python, Apache, Metasploitable, or Android. They are different types of software under open source. It means that they are mostly free to use. They have a big community driven and growing across and around them. And also security happens and achieved through transparency. It doesn't mean that when we are using an open source software that we do not need to follow any rules. Still, we need to follow some license rules like GPL that we discussed in the class last night, MIT, Apache, and BSD. So one of those things that we learned about GPL in our previous class, General Public License, is one of the most famous type of open source licensing. If a software is licensed under GPL, it means that you can use it, you can use those open source content, and you can modify it, you can change it, copy it, or redistribute it, but your change also should remain open source. GNU, General Public License, is one of those things. Copyright also, as discussed in the previous session, applies to majority of this open source licensing. Many open source tools run on Linux, they license based on GPL. Also, in the previous session, if you remember, we had a chat about CC, different types of control that a content creation is able to use to limit using of those open source licensing. For example, if you remember, and if you go back to your VU collaborate on the PowerPoint presentation number 2, there were 4 different types of CC. For example, you are able to create a content and limit it down only to use it as it is. ND or non-derivatives, as we discussed in previous session, it means that we are not allowed to change it or modify it. NC standing for non-commercial, it means that if a software has been licensed under NC, you just need to use it as for free or not for commercial purposes. You are not allowed to make any money out of it. Also, BY, which was the default, it means that if you're using any content under this type of open source licensing, you need to credit the author, or it might be a mix of a couple of these things. The next thing that I want to have a chat, just to keep our class pretty short tonight, just to have a look on a couple of tools that we may have in Windows environments to protect our systems. The first thing is that I would like to you have a chat, and then as I said, I log into Microsoft Azure and we will have a look on how it's look like in practice. The first one is Task Manager. Also, as I show you last night class, if you just go to your VU Collaborate in additional resources and open PowerPoint presentation number 4, you can find all of this information in that PowerPoint as well. In Windows environments, there are a couple of tools that we can use for different type of security purposes in order to improve the security or exposure of assets. One of those things is Task Manager. Firstly, I explain all of these tools, how to get access to it, and then we can go and see how they look like in reality. Task Manager is a Windows tool which allows us, let me see if I'm recording the session or not. Yes, I was thinking that maybe I forgot to record the session. Yes, it's recording. So Task Manager is one of the Windows built-in tools which allows us to monitor, analyze, manage our system resources. It's a very, very good tool in your hand. For example, if you see your Windows is pretty slow, it's not like before, the fan is working so fast and it's pretty noisy. Or when you try to close and open an application, it's not so fast, it's very sluggy. So the first tool that you can use to find those information is Task Manager. So Task Manager is a tool to monitor and analyze and manage your system resources. When we are talking about system resources, it means the hardwares that you have. For example, CPU, RAMs, the storage, network bandwidth, and all of those things. This is one of the first tools that IT professionals they use for troubleshooting purposes, for troubleshooting system performance issue. How to get access to it? how to access to the task manager. There are a couple of different ways that you can get access to task manager. The easiest way is just to type task manager in Windows search bar. So type task manager in Windows search. Very easy. You just need to go type task manager. It comes up and then you click and start it. The second way that you can get access to Task Manager is by Control Shift Escape. Control Shift Escape in your keyboard, then you can open Task Manager directly. So it's the fastest and most common way to get access to Task Manager. There is another way also. You can use Control Alt Delete. So you just try to, for example, go to search bar, but your mouse is stuck. It's not responding. You are not able to close any folder. You are not able to do anything. It seems that your mouse doesn't work or the system just is stuck and frozen. In that case, Control Alt Delete heaps of the time it works, and then you can go to a menu, and in that menu you can select Task Managers. So when we are using this one, Control Alt Delete, useful when the system is unresponsive. You try to type something like Control Shift Escape, or you try to go to search bar and search for it. It doesn't work. Just keep pressing Control Alt Delete in your keyboard, and then a menu pops up. In that menu, you can select Task Manager. There is another way also to get access to Task Manager. Right click on taskbar. The taskbar is a bar on the bottom of your Windows, and it works on most Windows versions. So you can right click and then you have the option for Task Manager. We will work on all of this when I log into Windows Microsoft Azure. So why Task Manager is useful? Because it helps you to find heaps of issues as discussed, like an unresponsive programs. Microsoft Excel, it doesn't close, it doesn't open, you try to close it, it doesn't work, you try to open it, doesn't work. A PDF, Adobe PDF Reader, it doesn't respond. You try to close it, doesn't work. You do everything, doesn't work. So Task Manager is the best way to go and end the task. We will do that when I go to Microsoft Azure. Sometimes the CPU is working so fast. You see that your laptop or your desktop PC fans are working so fast, like, ooh. So you just want to know what may happen, why the fan is working so fast. So it's good to have a look on Task Manager to find out uh, if there is a running software or service which may use heaps of CPU or it may use heaps of RAM. It's good also to check background processes. Later on in cybersecurity, we will learn about some new ways of cyber attacks, like for example, crypto jacking. Sometimes you might be not aware, you just visit some websites and in the background it will install some malwares in your computer. You are not aware of it, but it use your PC resources like your CPU or your RAM for example, crypto mining. By having a look on Task Manager, you can find all of those background processes for any suspicious activity. Detecting malware behavior. So it shows you all the running apps. You can go and have a look on high resource processes. Usually the malwares, they have this common behavior that they use your CPU or they use your RAM. You can also manage your startup programs. There might be some startup programs when you start your PC, they automatically start booting up and they slow down your computer. You can just go and have a look on the startup programs. If you don't need them, you can simply disable them. Checking network activity. That's another good data that we can get from task manager. Killing, restarting, or prioritizing practices is all the benefits. So I just simply put it here as the benefit of task manager. So unresponsive apps or softwares, high CPU or RAM, background processes, and malware behavior, and all of those things. Just some example. When you go to Task Manager has a couple of tabs. One tab is Process tab. So what it does, it shows all running application. Shows all running applications. Some of the applications you may start it by yourself. Some of the applications are running automatically on the background. So it shows you all of those applications if you start and run them or if they running in the background automatically. And also in the process tabs, you can see the CPU usage, you can see the memory usage, you can see disk usage, network usage, power usage, and all of those things. For example, a browser may use 2 GB of your RAM. If you're using a laptop or a desktop PC with 4 GB or 8 GB of RAM, then you will see which process or which service is using majority of your RAM. Or sometimes when you go to processes, you may see some strange names, which might be a malware, and you see that a non-familiar or pretty strange service is using 80% of your CPU. It should be a suspicious or possible malware that you can go and stop it. There is another tab, so processes. Another tab that you can find in Task Manager is Performance tab. That's another tab in Task Manager. What it shows real-time system charts like CPU graphs, memory usage, Wi-Fi or Ethernet, and disk usage. Very useful instead for in cybersecurity. We will run a couple of simulated DOS attacks over a server, and then when we go to the performance tab, it exactly shows the network traffic. It shows the CPU performance in a chart. So if you see that your CPU is working around 95 to 100%, it's likely there is a heavy application or a malware running on your PC. Or sometimes there might be some legitimate applications, but your laptop probably it might be running on some basic configurations. You don't have enough RAM, or your CPU might be pretty basic, like Core i3, and then you have multiple applications, browsers. You may have, for example, video conferencing like Zoom, etc., that they use heaps of RAM. Or you try to install VirtualBox with a couple of virtual machines and they all need RAM. You see that your PC or your laptop is struggling. You see that the CPU is working around 90%, which is harmful, which is dangerous for your device. Heaps of the time when the CPU is working around that performance, it gets hot and it automatically shuts down in order to prevent damage. Disk usage also is another indicator. For example, if you see the disk usage is sitting approximately 100%, it's common with faulty drives or Windows update issues. It gives you some idea that you can go and investigate in more detail. Or if it shows this percentage, 100%, for example, or pretty close to 100%, it means that your RAM is nearly full. Some devices, they might be uh, compatible in order to increase RAM. It depends to your motherboard. In Cert4 in cybersecurity or Cert4 in IT, you have two units talking about PCs and laptops and motherboards and RAM slots. Some devices, they have that options. If they are running on 16 GB of RAM, you can increase it to 32 or you can increase it to 64. Sometimes, mainly in laptops, they are not compatible. It means that they already have 16 GB or 8 GB of RAM and there is no options to increase the RAM size or there is no options to increase the SSD storage. You will learn more about those things, but how to find this in Performance tab in Task Manager. So real-time system charts. There is another tab in Task Manager which is App History. Okay, so it shows resource usage over time. So it's useful for tracking which apps use the most CPU time or the network data. Then, for example, cybersecurity or IT support team, they can investigate machines that always slow down. You can, for example, go and run Microsoft Teams to see how much RAM does it use or network data that you spend, for example, using Microsoft Teams or Zoom. And then it shows you when there might be bottlenecks in your Wi-Fi. A startup tab, there are some applications that they run automatically when you run your computer. When you start your PC, some applications automatically start working. So what it does, reduce, it increase the um, CPU load, and also it increase the time that your operating system will comes up. If you don't need those applications, if you don't need those softwares to automatically run, you can simply go and disable it. Sometimes they may have high impact, medium impact, or low impact, and Task Manager shows you all of those things. If you have multiple applications that they have a high impact on your PC performance and they all are enabled, it means when you turn on your laptop, you turn on your PC, they take too much resources, CPU, network, and etc., and they slow down uh, your laptop or your desktop PC. So if you see there are applications showing high impact in a startup tab, you just need to go and disable it. And also it has user tab and details tab. User and detail. User tab, it shows all currently logged in users. If there are multiple users logged in, and it shows also the resource usage. If, for example, there are two user accounts logged in and they both using RAMs, it may slow down the system, so you can find it in user tabs. And in detail tabs, it shows advanced process information. For example, it shows process ID or PID. It shows process ID, it shows some statutes, and etc. CPU priority and this kind of thing. There is another tab, service tab. In service tab, it shows Windows services and their statutes. Windows services. In To put it in short, Task Manager shows it just like a dashboard. In your car, you have a dashboard, and dashboard shows you basic information about your car status. It shows the fuel level, the tire pressure, engine temperature, and all of those things. Another tool that I would like to have a chat and then we go and see it in practice, it's Resource Monitor. What is Monitor? Again, it's a Windows built-in tool, but it provides more in-depth and detailed system information. Task Manager shows you some basic or first level information. If you want to go deeper, then Resource Monitor is that tool. Let me to put it down here. So Resource Manager, Windows tool to provide deeper, more detail system monitoring. For example, imagine Task Manager only gives you a summary. It shows you a summary of CPU performance. If you want to find more information, then we can go to Resource Monitor and it shows exactly which processes are using CPU. It's just like sometimes I use this analogy like a GP and a specialist. So Task Manager works like a GP. It just shows you the very basic things. It's examining and checking and investigating the first layer. Then if you want to go to more detail, to deeper information, then Resource Manager can use it. How to get access to it? How to access to Resource Monitor? So you can go to Task Manager, then you can go to Performance, and then you can click on Open Source Monitor. So let me to put down here. Task Manager. In Task Manager, then you need to go to Performance. In Performance, you need to go to Open Resource Monitor. There is another way also to get access to it. You can use Windows Run. I will talk a little bit more about Run. Windows Run. In your keyboard, if you keep pressing Windows logo plus R, it opens up a field for you. It's called Windows R or Run. And then you can search for or let's say type uh, let's use another color, type RES standing for resource monitor. So you can type mon for resource monitor and then press enter. It brings you to the same page to get access to the resource monitor. Let me say number 1, number 2, and number 3, the start menu. Type resource monitor. Then you can access the resource monitor. As discussed, it shows you which app is using your RAM or your CPU, how exactly it's using your resources. It's very useful for debugging. If there is a high disk usage, if there is a high CPU usage, you can go and find where it's coming from, monitoring your port connections. It's another feature of resource monitor, tracking your network usage, finding services, causing freeze-ups or slowing down your system. It's accessible through resource monitor. Again, pretty similar to task manager. Which color used? Tabs. It has overview tab. It has CPU tab. So overview, what it shows you live graphs of CPU, disk, network, and memory. For CPU, it gives you very detailed CPU insights, all processes, all services associated with each processes, CPU consumption, percentage of total CPU time. All of those information, you can simply find it in CPU tab. So if you see that there is a non-run process, like something like this, you go to CPU tab and you see something like minor 32 exa, which is an exe file. So what is this? And you see that it's using 80% of your CPU. A highly possible that it might be a potential malware. So what you can do, you can simply go end the task and delete it. It's not enough. In search for cybersecurity, we show that even when you find a malware like this, you find it, you right click and you end it up. It seems that it's gone, but when your PC restarts or when you shut down your PC and you turn it on again there might be something hidden in task scheduler that it will recreate it again. So we need to go and check multiple location. But this is a good start to go and have a look on CPU tab just to see if all the system processes are pretty familiar for you. For example, it might be Microsoft Office, Adobe, Zoom, or all of those things. It seems that they're okay. But if you see something that it looks pretty strange and you are not familiar with the name of it, you can search to see if you may get any information about it or not, and then you can analyze it or you can stop it. And as I said, in Threat for cybersecurity, we discuss more how to stop this type of processes if your systems might be impacted. Okay, cool. Another tab is memory tab. What it does, a memory tab shows exact memory usage. So why it's useful? Because it shows you if there is any potential damage or if your hard might be faulty, if the memory is used by drivers, how much RAM is actually free. So if you are using heavy intensive RAMs application and you are running, for example, on 16 gigabyte PC, then it might be a good indicator to see how much of your RAMs are available. Specifically, if you are running virtual machines, or if you're opening multiple applications, multiple softwares in your browsers, you have 20, 30 tabs open, then they use heaps of RAM. Some of software, some of applications by default, they are RAM hungry. They deplete your RAM, and then you see your system is pretty slow and sluggy. So you can go and search for that. Disk tab, what it shows your disk information for your storage. Input, output systems, it checks how much space you may have. It shows files are being locked. It shows the top talkers and all of those things. You can find it in disk. Network tab. So obviously it shows your network status. It's very important for cybersecurity and networking experts. So if in the future you get a job as a network analyzers or setting up and maintaining a network, tips of the time you may check network tab. It shows your network bandwidth. It shows all the ports that they're being used. It shows remote IP addressing. It shows TCP connections, network utilizations, and it gives you a good insight over your network. Okay, cool. So that's the next one. And also I want to have a brief chat about Event Viewer 610, and then I go to Microsoft Azure. Event Viewer. As discussed in our previous class, last session, Event Viewer is just like a motion detector. It's like a CCTV camera in your system. It's a Windows tool. You can use it to view, filter, and analyze system logs. Windows tool to view, filter, and analyze Windows logs. Each log is like an event or motion. For example, for your CCTV camera, it doesn't record all the time, because if you have a CCTV camera which is recording 24 hours, 7 days a week, then after a few days, you don't have enough storage. So instead of recording everything, they keep silent, or it seems that they keep inactive. But when there is a movement, there is a motion. When they detect an emotion or detect any movement, they start recording for a few seconds and then they stop. That's the same things in Windows Event Viewer. If there is a log might be creating a new file, changing a new file, trying to log in, changing some settings, applications error, system failures, driver issues. Sometimes you know about it, sometimes you don't, and it's happening in the background. A service has stopped to work. For example, a driver, it's a machine, it's a hardware device, and eventually it may stop working sometime. Security events like logins, logouts, permissions. When you try to change the access level from local account to admin account. All of those things, they create a log, and Windows Event Viewer will capture all of those events. So later on, you can go and have a look, you can go and analyze those information. Obviously, in a big environment, like in a company, like in a campus, like in a hospital, there are hundreds of devices and they all create millions of events every day. So just imagine in Victoria University, we have multiple campuses. In each campus, there are multiple buildings. In each building, there are multiple rooms, classes, offices, staff, students. So hundreds and hundreds of users. And each user or each device, they create thousands of logs every day. So how it's possible to analyze these billions of data if you want to go and have a look in the last 2, 3 months to find if there is any sign of malicious activity or if there is any wrong thing when we have billions of data. Later on, you will learn if you go to cybersecurity courses, there are heaps of tools that we use it for automations, for anomaly detections, to graph and show those anomalies like Splunk that we teach and we use it here in Victoria University. It's a tool that we are using it to analyze billions of data. It automatically can go and capture, or if you want, you can manually feed it, and then it goes and find all anomalies in a graph. Very, very useful tool. Okay, so now that we know what is Event Viewer, how to get access to it, how to access. The first option is the Start menu, and then in your Start menu, you can search for Event Viewer. So this is option 1. Option 2 is through run command. So run command, now you know. You need to press Win plus R and then to type Event Viewer. Event Viewer should be like this. VWR. MSC for Microsoft. And also you can go to Control Panel. In Control Panel, you can go to Administrative Tools. And you can go to Event View. So it's very useful. You can just use Windows Event Viewer to find out why some applications are crashing, why Windows service is failing, why the system is so slow or unstable, who logged into your system, who tried to log into your system also. Sometimes someone tried to log into your system, they don't have the right password, they just do multiple fail attempts. Then you can go to Windows Event Viewer and it shows you which time and how many times someone tried to log in. It's very useful because imagine, as I said, in a big network like in a campus or in a hospital, it might be a good sign to go and check if there might be, let's say, more than 20 or 30 fail attempts in a short time, which might be a sign of or an indicator of cyber attacks, failed login attempts, or privilege misuse. Sometimes um, a user try to escalate their access level. You can go and find all of this information. In Windows Event Viewer, just the last things, and then I go to Azure. What it shows application logs. Let me use this column. Application logs like Microsoft Office errors, SQL Server errors, application crash, software warnings, all of those things. It shows you that if there is an issue with your applications, it shows system log. System logs, any events logged by Windows components like disk warnings, network failure, power events, I don't know, service interruptions, driver issues, RAM issue. You can go to system log, and if there is any problem, exactly the same way that you have your check light in your car, it turns on if there is some issues in your car engine. You see that the check light is on. And then you just, for example, bring your car to a car mechanic, and they connect a diagnostic tools to your car ECU, and then it shows all the errors. If the error is coming from, for example, the hybrid battery, if the error is coming from suspension systems or whatever, in the diagnostic things, they can see all of those errors. Pretty the same in system log in Windows Event Viewer. It shows all of those Windows components errors. And also it has, this is the last one, security log. Security logs. Security logs might be successful login, failed login, wrong passwords, account logouts, all of those things. You can find it on the security logs, and it has different codes. As I said, in a big campus, in a big network, there might be hundreds or thousands of users. Then you can go and have a look on those logs. Okay, cool. I think that it should be fine. Let's do go and setup log also. I'll show you when I log into Windows Server. Setup log, what it shows about Windows installation and updates. Let's do log into Microsoft Azure. Let me stop sharing this. And in the meantime that I'm logging to Microsoft Azure, I will have a look on your chat messages as well. Azure Lab. Let me share my screen. Okay, so let's have a look on your chat. We have received the feedback. Thank you. What do we have? Assessing the unit. For this unit, you will be assessing. For this unit, Ammar will mark your submissions. When will you start your classes next year? February the 3rd, I think. Yes, Karen, you are correct. Let's see the exact date. Tuesday, 3rd of February. I called the video service test before leaving overseas. They said the timetable will be published in January. Classes start in Jan. I don't think it should be in Jan. In the last 4, 5, 6, it's 6 years that now I'm teaching in Week Uni. We never had class in January. Some mix up which date is. Thank you for, but still I'm not 100% sure. I would say 99.99% it should be in February. Log with I guess the link of my email. I hope we don't have the assessment date while I'm traveling back. So if you're traveling now, don't worry. I would say there shouldn't be any class or any assessment in January. This unit I said I don't know. For this current unit, ICT 313, you need to submit your assessment before Christmas time by end of this weekend, please. What the suspended student means in the resource. Monitor, I check how one just managed to get back from work. Have they started discussions of assignment 2 or this is regular content? Both, it's part of the regular content, but also it's relevant to the assessment task too. Do you learn Splunk in Cert 4? Yes, you will learn about Splunk in Cert 4. There is a unit that you will use Splunk, and then you will import data from Windows Event Viewer. You insert it into Splunk. Splunk has two way to collect information. You can feed it, you can upload data into the Splunk, or also Splunk has forwarder. There are some soft or light applications that you can install it on your remote devices, and they collect data and they send it to the Splunk head unit or central unit, and then it analyzes it for you. Yes, you will learn about Splunk Insert for in cybersecurity. Assessment just questions. Yes, correct. Okay, cool. Okay, so I reckon cool. So let's do login to Microsoft Azure. So you know that password is infotech exclamation mark NF0 TEC capital H. Okay, sure about the connection. Yes. Also, what other questions in the chat? I reckon Maxwell, you ask about the suspended in Task Manager. If you see an application is showing suspended, it means that Windows automatically suspended or temporarily stopped that service in order to reserve the system resources. It means that it's not closed, it just temporarily stopped. It's not pips of the time, no. In the meantime, that Windows Server comes up, let me to uh, have a look on assessment task 2 to see what is the exact question. Let me to go to content, assessment task 2, template. For assessment task 2, there are a couple of questions that you can simply answer. If I just go down to that part which is asking you to log into Microsoft Azure, it says for one of tools identified in question 3. Question 3, what are two examples of Windows 10 Server operating system tools that you can use to identify and observe internal and external non-compliance infringements of an organization's IP ethics and privacy policy procedure? Name one tool that you can use to identify non-compliance in relation to intellectual property and one in relation to privacy. Also, it's asking you to log into your Microsoft Azure. Then it asks you to create a video or take some screenshots. And then you explain how to get access to those tools in order to identify, monitor, and finding incidents of non-compliance. Once you've completed those screenshots of your videos, put it here, and in order to complete this task, you need to get access to Microsoft Azure Lab. Okay, cool. Let's log into Windows Server. Again, info tech. Info tech. Uh, caps lock. Yes. Okay, cool. So now you see that my Windows Server is up and running. It's a little bit slow. Yes, okay, so it's good. Cancel this as well. Okay, so in order to get access to Task Manager, as discussed, there are a couple of ways like Control Shift Escape or Control Alt Delete, or you can simply go and type Task Manager, and you see this is Task Manager. So click to start it. As discussed, Task Manager, it has a couple of tabs here, as you see. Processes, performance, users, details, and services. In my board, I already discussed about these main tabs. The processes, it shows the processes, as you see. CPU usage, you see Task Manager. By the whole system is just, you see CPU is around 60, 70, 40. It fluctuates because there are so many applications running on your system. It goes up and down. If your CPU is running across 40, 50%, it's fine. If you see it's constantly working 90% and you see your fan is working so fast, so there should be something. But you see that it goes up and down. It's not constantly working pretty close to 100%. That's the same for memory. If you are running too much memory in your device, you are a gamer and you have 64 or 128 gig of memory, then your PC probably doesn't have a hard job to do. But if you are running on 16 gig of RAM and you have multiple virtual machines or you are playing a high resolution game, then you see that your memory is pretty close to 100%. And then you see some slowness in your system. Performance, if I go to the next tab, let me to expand this. So you see performance tabs as discussed. Performance shows real-time system charts. So here CPU, you see that it fluctuates. It's not constantly attaching to the ceiling. It goes up and down. Obviously, it depends to your CPU power, it depends to your system power, but in cybersecurity courses, we use strong virtual machines with adequate CPU power, but then we attack the PC. Or, for example, in busy time, your CPU might be running pretty close to 100% if you have multiple applications, if you are playing 4K games, all of those scenarios, it means that your CPU is working so fast just to process the requests. The same for memory. If I go down to memory, you see that memory, it shows there are 2 GB memory, which is pretty low, 2 gigabyte are available. So these machines are running on 4 gig RAM, and it's just like working around 50%. As you see, 2.1 is in use and 2.1 or 1.9 is available. Cache also, you can see it's 2.2 gigabit. Again, as I said, if you proceed to the higher qualifications like CERT 4090 or Diploma in IT, you will go more through CPU. You will learn about different families of CPUs, Intel and AMD with different structures, 32 or 64-bit structure. You will learn about different types of cache. You will learn about different generations of CPUs and how they impact the performance threads or the number of cycles that are available in each CPU. You will learn more about it in the higher qualifications. Ethernet also, Microsoft Hyper-V network adapter. So at this stage, it doesn't show any send or receive data. Exactly the same way that I use it in Windows Server in your home. You don't need to just go and use it in Microsoft Azure. You can do this in your home PC as well. You can go to your home PC, check if your CPU is working okay, if your memory is working okay. Users, so there is only one user, which is this administrator. As discussed, if there are multiple users using the same device or logged into the same two users account logged in, and they both using the RAM, it shows here. So currently there is only one user. Details, you can find details of services here. So it's an advanced tab. It shows process ID or PID. Each service has an ID. You see the service ID for this aggregator host.exe. It's 3676. It's running. And if you are not sure about each of these services, you can search it on the Google. Here it says it's a client server runtime process, so it should be fine. Microsoft Active Directory, Microsoft runtime broker, it should be fine. But sometimes you may see something strange, which is not familiar to your eyes, then you can go and search about it. Service tab. In the service tab also, you can find more information about Windows services, like Windows Update service, like important services for DHCP or DNS cache, all of those things. You can find it here in the services. But mainly, we use these first two, performance and processes. In the processes, here you see all the other applications, they are not using too much CPU. It shows them 0. If you just check this in your home PC, there might be some services taking 1%, 2%, 5% of your CPU, or sometimes an application may have stocked and you, as discussed, you're trying to close it, but it doesn't allow you. So you can come to this task manager. Imagine this service, I don't know what is it. Imagine I want to stop this. So you can right click on it and then click on end task. If you're running Windows Excel, if you're running Adobe, it's a stocked. It doesn't close, it doesn't respond. So go to the task manager. As you see, you just need to type task manager here in the search bar. Then find that service. Usually it shows like 40, 30, 50% of CPU usage, which is quite high. Or if it's stocked, just find it, right click, and click on end task. Or you can go to details to find more information about it. Or you can go search online. You can go find the locations of that file. Sometimes there might be a malware in one of your C drive folders. So you can go to see where is the location and delete that malware from that location as well. So task manager shows it here. You can click on end task and it will stop that process. Cool.
Sorry,
Yes.
can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
As you can see before, a few minutes before, this computer has 4 GB of memory. And
Yes.
now it is using 42%. It means that, for example, the total sum of all these, all the numbers in this column should be, for example, 1
2 gig,
point gig.
1.9 gig. Yeah.
1.9, but it doesn't seem to be 1 point,
Yeah, there are
because
so many systems. You can just keep scrolling down.
because I checked for example, for my computer, and I noticed that it can't be, for example, based on the percent of memory that is written in this column.
Mhm.
And then I paid attention more to your screen, and I noticed that it's as if the same.
Your percentage is the same, you mean?
No, but for example, my percentage of memory which is used is 76%,
Yeah.
and my computer has 8 GB of RAM. And then when I checked this column, I noticed that the total sum of the numbers in this column can't be, for example, 6 GB. And then I try to pay attention more to your screen, and I think it's the same. For example, the total sum of all these numbers can't be 1.6 GB, I think.
You mean that it should be less than that? Yeah.
Yes, very less than that. The total sum of them, I think it should not be more than 500 megabyte.
Okay. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, sometimes there might be some temporary discrepancies that exactly when you add up all of these services here in the task manager.
For
Uh,
example, it doesn't seem to be 44% of the total memory installed in this computer, as I'm seeing your screen. And of course, I checked my computer. It is using, for example, 77% of the total the
Yeah, I
installed memory.
understand your question. Yes. So it's not just the sum up of all of these applications. If you just go and sum up all of those applications, yeah, it might be not exactly equal to 1.9 or 2 gig because there are so many other services that they use your RAM as well. It's not just these applications or services that you see here. It might be, for example, your GPU having shared memory. It might be system cache, for example, that they use memory as well. So RAM is like a shared resource that all of these softwares, applications, services, they need memory as well. Your kernel needs memory. GPU also may have a shared memory. Yes, so they all impact your memory. And you are right. If you just add up all of these services, it should be less than the total
Very
percent.
less than.
Yes. Yes, correct. Yes.
And they are not written in this table.
No, they are not written in this table. No.
Oh,
I think I
so
think
how can we find them? Sorry.
I
Uh,
think it can also be using virtual memory because you set up certain amount of virtual memory besides the RAM. So
mhm.
the processes and the pages are swapped out if they are not been used for a long time. Only the current pages of memory are in the RAM. This is how the Linux works.
Mhm.
Linux, yeah, when you set up a Linux, you have to tell them what should be your swap out memory locate this thing. You can give it
Mhm.
20 gig or
Yes.
something like that, and then it will swap out the pages which are not current.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I understand. It's just like if I want to give you another analogy, Mahmoud, it's like you go and you purchase a new, let's say, laptop, and it says that the storage is 256 gig. But when you go to save something in your C drive, you see that you have like 198, like less than 200. So the nominal storage is 256, but part of that storage might be used for the operating system, and technically you have less than 256. The same for your phone, the same for your other devices. For the RAM also, it's the same. If you have 8 gig of RAM, all of those services and applications may show up like 10% or 15% of the total RAM size. But you see here it's running around 42%. And as I said, it's just because of a couple of different factors like your drivers, your Windows, kernel, your cache data, they all also need memory. GPU also, it may use part of your memory. And yeah, no, it doesn't show all of them here. But having a memory around 40%, 50%, 60%, it should be okay. That's not a concern. If you see that your memory is around over 85%, 90%, then we need to think and check what might be the reason. Sometimes it might be very normal because you are running, very heavy intensive RAM applications like virtualization, etc., and you are using whole of your RAM. But if you know that I'm not running anything, but still RAM is too high, then you can go and investigate what might be the reason. Okay, cool. So it's 6:45. I was thinking that I'm able to finish by 6:30, but that's okay. The next one that we wanted to have a look was resource monitor, how to get access to resource monitor. As discussed, there are a couple of ways. For example, you can go Windows R. Let's see if Windows R is working here. So keep pressing Windows icon and R in your keyboard. Keep pressing Windows icon plus R and resource monitor. Click OK. And then you see that it shows you the resource monitor. As discussed, Resource Monitor provides you more in-depth information, deeper data about your CPU, about your disk, about your network, to make it full screen, your memory. So here you see CPU, the same for your disk. You can expand it from here. And let's expand network. There are some softwares or applications also that you can install and they provide even further more information about your CPU, your memory, your network bandwidth. And now it seems that everything is pretty normal. There is no sign of unusual activity in the CPU, in the RAM, or in network. It's pretty quite often to have these fluctuations going up, down. Also, when you start your PC, you will see that your CPU, your disk, your network, they are working across 100%, but after a few seconds, they go down. You can try in your PC, for example, you can open Resource Monitor, and then if you have a game, just try to play and start that game, or try, for example, to run VirtualBox if you have, try to open YouTube, a couple of other softwares to see what might be the impact on your CPU, on disk, and your network. And then close them down, and again, just have a look on your Resource Monitor to see how they react. Again, it might be a good resource when you want to know which application is using your RAM or is using your CPU for debugging, for monitoring purposes, for example, finding service issues if they frozen up, all of those things. Resource Monitor might be a good resource for you. And eventually, let's also have a look on Windows Event Viewer. So obviously you can click on,
Sorry.
yes.
In this section, can we see, for example, all everything that is using, for example, our memory in this section? Because on the last section, you told us that everything is not shown. I want to know how about how about this section?
Now, again, here it doesn't show all of those items and components that they use your RAM, but it shows the majority of it. For example, here for disk or for RAM, CPU, disk, network, memory. So let me go down and expand memory as well. Again, here, if you just keep scrolling down, and if you just go and add all of these numbers, again, it doesn't equal to like 50
It's
packets of,
kilobytes.
yes. It,
It doesn't mean
so there
it's
are a couple of different tools, it's just like a step by step. As I say, it's just like a GP and an specialist. So in the first place, you get some idea. If it's not enough, then you can go to the next step, get more information. If it's not enough, it's just like a GP that you go. If it's something that they can quickly fix it, they just take some basic tests. For example, they check your temperature, they check, for example, your appearance and all of those things. If they can find the issue, good. So it doesn't need to go even further. If they can't, then probably they ask you to go and to go do, for example, a blood test. Then again, just like that, more and more investigations. If eventually they can't find what might be the problem, it's possible that they send it to a specialist. Pretty the same in Windows. So we don't want to have all of this information in one place. If we need, then we can go further and further and further, just like going, for example, cutting an onion. It's like layers and layers and layers and layers. In the first layer, it provides some basic information. If you need, then you can go further with more information and more information and more information to dig more in detail.
yes. Thank you.
Not a problem. Also, let's do have a look on the last one. The last one was Windows Event Viewer as discussed. There are so many other tools. It's all up to you. I don't want to limit you only to use this tree as Task Manager or Resource Monitor or Event Viewer. You can just go search in Google and see what other tools you may find like Windows Scheduler and etc. The same way, again, I go press Windows R. This time I want to use Event Viewer. So Event Viewer dot MSC. MSC, and then you can click on OK. And as you see, Windows Event Viewer. Let's expand it. For Windows Event Viewer, as discussed also, it gives you and shows you heaps of information like application logs. It shows you the system logs, Windows logs. So you can expand it. Like Windows logs, I want to know about the Windows logs. So you can expand this. You see application, security, setup, system, forwarded events. You can expand applications and service logs. You see Active Directory. Active Directory web services, directory services, DNS server, hardware events, OpenSSH, Microsoft, key management services. If you want to create some custom views also, you can create it here. Here also in this main section, you see overview, summary of events. Some of the events are critical. It means that they are very important. So it says in the last 1 hour or 24 hour or 7 days, there was only one critical log. Errors, there have been 12 warnings. It's just like a warning. It's not critical. And there have been 31 warnings. You can expand it to see what are those warnings. Information, there have been 379 information. Critical, let's expand it. So it says that there is an event ID number 41, kernel power log system. Then you can go and search in Google. For example, let me to open another screen here and type for event 41. Let me bring my other screen here, you see, event 41, kernel power. So you can get more information about it. It says event 41 kernel power. It indicates that Windows detected an unexpected shutdown, meaning the computer lost power, crashed, or was forcibly restarted without a power shutdown. The error is often caused by the hardware issues like a failure, power, etc. Again, you can go expand, for example, these errors. So let's do, for example, search for this event ID 6008 event log. So 6008. event log. So you can search for it. So it says it's a Windows event log signifies an unexpected system shutdown, which is pretty quite often for Microsoft Azure because you finish or I finish working with my virtual machines and I didn't went to the standard shutdown process, which is here, going, for example, to right click and shut down from here. I simply close it or I just get disconnected. So all of those errors are coming from this shutdown. The same way you can go and search for the other logs as well. Warnings, information, audit sites, all of those things. Then you have some filtration here. Obviously, as discussed in a big network, there might be billions of logs. So you can put some filters. Again, it's out of the scope of set 3, but in case you are curious to know how it works, you can go create some custom saved logs in order to limit the number of logs, reduce the number of logs. You can save it, you can export it. For example, Splunk, as discussed, for Splunk, usually we save the logs in a .csv format, then we can upload it into Splunk, and then we can analyze it. I think that there should be enough. If you are interested, just search some videos on YouTube, or you can go to Cert 4 in IT or Cert 4 in cybersecurity, and then you will get more information about Windows resources. Cool. So I think that should be enough. Let me to stop sharing. Let's have a look on your chats. Conversation between Trombone and Taman. Cool. Let me to quickly take a look at attendance.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Is it possible that, for example, 20% of your CPU is using while memory is more than 80%, 85%?
Yes. Yes, it's possible because there are two different things. Yes, imagine that you have a very strong CPU, but you have low number of RAM. You don't have too much RAM. So yeah, CPU is working fine, but your RAM is pretty close to 100%.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it
So
depends on.
CPU is showing how your CPU is working. RAM is showing how much space does it have.
Yes.
Yeah, and heaps of the time, it's very common that when you have limited number of RAMs, because RAM is like a temporary short access area which fits the CPU. So all the data is going to the CPU. Firstly, imagine they go and stop in the RAM. It's like a short access for CPU to process them. So yeah, possible, yeah, that you have RAMs in low RAMs like 8 gig, 4 gig RAM, and you have a strong CPU, and CPU is fine, it's working 20%, but your RAM is working 80%. Or for some heavy RAM intensive applications like virtualizations, for uh, AI, for video editing that they need heaps of RAM. 4K gaming, yes, usually gamer. Do we have any gamer here in our class? Gamers usually, if they play 4K games, yeah, it needs too much RAM. It absolutely.
A,
Yeah,
a,
Jake is
a,
a gamer, so probably Jake is able to explain that. Yes,
a simple example is reading a massive big file and not doing anything with it. So it comes and takes the RAM, but the CPU is not doing anything with it. So a CPU will be idle as well as the RAM will be massive because it read in the whole file. Make sense?
yes, yes, correct. Yes, yes. Later on in our cloud units, we will see exactly the same things. When we go to the cloud, you will see that there are a couple of different categories for virtual machines. We have memory optimized, we have a storage optimized, we have process. So yeah, it's possible that you are reading large data sets
Yes.
and you need to have too much memory, but CPU doesn't have a hard time to process it because it just,
Exactly.
yeah, it's possible. Regarding your question, Jake, yeah, just take a video or take some screenshots of all of those features that I showed. You just need to go to your Microsoft Azure. In your Microsoft Azure, you can go to Task Manager and explain how to get access to Task Manager, showing it how it look like. Then Windows Event Viewer, you can take some screenshots or take a video, explain how to get access to Windows Event Viewer. So the question is asking you just to name it. And also in questions 4, it says go to your Microsoft Azure Lab and then demonstrates how you can get access and use these tools to identify and monitor the incidents. So as I show you, for example, in Windows Event Viewer, you can go find this critical error. So here, that's an error. So you can take a screenshot or you can take a video if you wish, and then you can explain it. So yeah, pretty easy. Cool. Let me to stop recording.